Welcome to Village Catholic Conversation. Today, we have the first of a three-part exciting conversation with Catholic young adults. Come on, pull up a chair and join the conversation. Three, two, one, go.
Hello, hello, hello. What a wonderful day. And welcome to Village Catholic Conversations, a show where we bring you conversations, stories about our faith to inspire you, to challenge you, and equip you to start your own conversations. And today we have been joined by my co-host, my producer, Advima Jr., and our special guest today. We have Emma, we have Ronnie, and we have Becca here. I'm going to tell you, today we have a great conversations. And we are talking about young adults and how they live their faith every single day. Welcome, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, this is an exciting time. Excuse me. And Art and I were talking earlier, and we were saying, how cool is it to get three young adults together?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And as I mentioned to you earlier, today's conversation is all about how do you live your faith every day? Why do you choose to remain Catholic? Even when we know this particular time in this country, in the world, most young people are choosing not to belong.
Yeah.
So, but before we dive into all that, you two are married.
Yes,
We are.
Yep.
Yep.
3 months, 2 months.
Almost 2 months.
Almost 2 months.
So
Yeah.
Art was telling me, you were telling me 3 months.
Yeah, I wasn't exactly sure. I
Yeah.
just remember us
You were
coming.
at the wedding.
I know.
Well, they're looking for
I'm
food.
an old guy, so like time moves.
Yeah. Tell us,
that's okay.
tell us a little bit of how you guys met and why you chose to be married in a Catholic church.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so we met coming on, well, no, more than 5 years ago.
About 5
now.
years, yeah.
It was the first day of orientation at our first day of school at Franciscan University in Steubenville, Ohio. And we just met through just her childhood friend
Yeah.
had become one of my good friends, and her roommate was also one of my good friends. So we just met through all the different people, and we just hit it off right away.
Yeah, we just became best friends in the beginning for like a few months before we started dating.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it was just really neat just learning the different things about her, and just I had dated a lot through high school.
Yeah.
So through all of that, I really learned what I wanted in a future wife. And Emma hadn't dated at all in high school.
Yeah.
Do you want to share with that?
Yeah, I just chose, it was just a choice that I had. I knew that, God was calling me to just, wait. And so I feel like I prepared for my future vocation by, that waiting and that praying and, watching other people's experiences and relationships. So for me as well, once I met him, I just knew. I knew this was the right person.
It's fascinating that you say that about waiting and about how you prepare yourself, because both of you have a different angle of your relationship. You were already dating and she's waiting, and talk about how God makes things work, because you're telling you two friends, your roommate and half friend.
Yeah.
How does that even happen?
Yeah.
I know,
It's just incredible.
Yeah.
So you have been raised Catholic, you have grown Catholic. What are some of the things that probably puts you in a struggle when it comes to living your faith in a sense?
Yeah, I think in today's culture it can be disheartening because we do see so much suffering and darkness.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes that can be a challenge. But I think what I've really held on to is just that hope and the hope of the truth of our faith. For me personally, I think what's kept me Catholic and what has just been so beautiful in my life is my devotion to the Eucharist. Because I mean, just that going to Mass every week or a few times a week and adoration, that is just what fuels me to keep going in my life. And when things seem dark or bad things are happening in the culture, I think that's something that I can be rooted in.
Yeah, Eucharist. It's a big thing in our church today when we talk about Eucharist. And earlier before the show, we were talking about how most young people, I think research is showing from the age of 14, are choosing just to leave the church. And Becca, this is your question. At your age, and as you had Emma and Ronnie talk here, what's going through your mind when it comes to your faith and how you have chosen to live your faith?
How do you mean?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, like, in living your faith every day, why do you choose to stay Catholic? Why do you choose to remain Catholic? And what inspires you, so to speak?
a similar thing, I think, is obviously that we just have the fullness of truth and we have the sacraments, and that's a unique thing to Catholicism that no other, Orthodox have sacraments, but no other branch of Christianity has that.
Yeah.
No other religion besides Christianity, obviously, but that and the emphasis in Catholicism on the faith and reason, and it being a reasonable thing, it's not an emotional thing, and how the Catholic faith is able to incorporate everything into it, and it makes sense as a whole worldview. It all makes sense together. Like this is the fulfillment of all these other pagan religions that were in the past, and this is the it all can be incorporated and using reason and thinking and logical thinking. It all makes sense.
You know, one of the interesting things that I've found, even when we started these conversations, even when I'm talking to different group of people, and it's interesting to bring the faith and reason, is that stories really guide our conversations. Stories really guide our faith. And if you look at Jesus' life, if you look at biblical references, there's a ton of stories that really people used to evangelize. How does, and I should tell our listeners that Ronnie and Emma work in ministry, right?
Yeah,
I should have mentioned
we
that
do.
before. And it's both youth ministry, right? High school ministry. So where I was going with my point about stories is, how have you had the chance to share your own faith stories and cultivate that kind of conversation with people, Ronnie?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I think definitely going through college and just like working with ministry a lot is one of the things that they really make sure you do is you talk about your faith life, because that's what really can inspire people. So I've definitely worked on it through the years. I mean, it's a continuous journey. But yeah, like for me personally, I had a really big conversion actually when a really good close cousin of mine actually took his own life. And it was at that point when I really kind of took my faith seriously. And it's amazing how something so outwardly seems so terrible has actually had such a huge impact on my life and has helped me in so many other parts of my life, and especially with my relationship with God.
It's always a sad feeling, when we learn people have taken their own life. Recently, in my parish, we got a notice that one of the students, one of the youth, I think she was in high school, had taken her own life, and I'm like, it was sad. I mean, seeing the parish people, I didn't know her, but we are connected, especially when it comes to the faith. So what is it? I'm still not able to answer that question to myself. Like, what are we missing when that is happening? And I know this is a huge conversation. People are having this conversation about helping people in mental health, helping people in really ask those deep questions and share their mind. So speaking about reaching to those young people, is there a common theme that you find with the young people who are choosing not to be of the faith?
Yeah, I think personally a big thing that I've seen is just, and this is, in the world today, so you just see so much loneliness in people, and even when people are, surrounded by family and friends, there can still be that immense feeling of loneliness. And that's one thing that's really helped me with the faith, is that the whole thing about the Catholic faith is that it's a universal church. We're all in it together. And that's one of the beautiful things of just finding that that brother and sisterhood in our brothers and sisters in Christ, and that there's no reason to feel lonely because throughout the world, we're all brothers and sisters in Christ.
Yeah, and I think that's what's wonderful about youth ministry and young adult ministry is because it fosters that community. And I think that's a way that we can fight like this loneliness and the darkness is having that church community together. Yeah.
And I have a question, like for all of you, and I know Rebecca, you and Emma went to school together, you went to high school together, but do you have any friends from high school or friends from college that just have walked away or never engaged in their faith? And what is their response to you in particular that you're practicing your faith, but that, you two are working in ministry? And for Rebecca, her faith is very evident in everything she does. It's not a hidden thing. So do you have any friends from college or high school that don't practice and give you a hard time or just ask you why? And what do you say?
Yeah, definitely.
Franciscan, I don't know that that's such a common thing.
Yeah, more from high school.
Right. But there's people that choose Franciscan for other reasons.
Oh definitely.
But what's your experience with that? I mean, you have to name names or anything.
I don't want to bring anybody.
But I'm just saying, but what kind of pushback or questions do you get as to why you practice your faith?
I think a lot of young adults have a lot of morality questions. I think that's like a big one that a lot of like friends that I've had from high school who have drifted away from the faith who talk to me about it. Like why don't Catholics, why do they look down upon people living together before marriage and just all those big like morality questions.
Right.
And so I feel like that's like what comes up a lot, and that might be kind of what's maybe standing in the way for them of coming back to the faith is some of those like big questions. So I think kind of like what Becca was saying with like the faith and reason, like us like knowing about the faith and knowing the answers to these questions can like evangelize to them in a way.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that too, because in my mind, I know it's a big thing for even people back home. I'm from Kenya, so and we struggle with the same thing, and the Catholic Church, it's straight. The answer is you don't have to live together, and for you to participate in, especially in the Eucharist, it gives you the answers. And people might be searching these answers elsewhere, but the answers are well stipulated in the Catechism. The Pope talks about it. The people in the ministry talk about it. So is it us who are in the ministry should be answering the question, or is it, do we have materials that we can give to the people who have left the faith to answer such a question? Because I believe the answer is there. I just tend to think that we choose not to listen to the answer. What do you think, God?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, what we talk about here and conversations, and the number one, I think, tool of conversion is just you witness with your life. And and big clap there. But I mean, the fact that the number one thing is that you two have chosen a sacramental marriage.
Yeah.
And you did not cohabitate, and you waited till you were married, and now you're living, obviously newlyweds, but still you're living a sacramental marriage, and that witness, I think, and your willingness to not shy away from conversations about why, I think that's the number one tool for conversion. I don't think it's a program or a pamphlet, but just you're willing to have conversations. I know, Rebecca, you had shared with me back when you were in college a few conversations that you had with college classmates who knew you first, and then discovered that some of your beliefs did not really match up with theirs, and they were shocked and stunned.
Surprised,
Like, whoa, you seem kind of normal.
They kind of just assume that you think the way they do.
Right. Well, everybody does that.
Everybody does that.
But what I'm saying is your witness, you're not, dumping things on people's heads or pushing hard. You're just
I'm
being
not out
you.
on a street corner yelling through a megaphone.
No. But you're just living your life as a young Catholic. You make no excuses about, nope, Sunday I'm going to church. And I think that, John, I think our lives are the best witness.
That's pretty much.
Not that we don't need other avenues, because I think partly, Emma, what you're talking about is people struggle with some of the moral issues because they don't understand that there's a reason. It's not just the church hates this or that or don't like these people or this action. It's not.
Or like that their whole worldview is kind of based around that. Like
Right.
they can't see a world without XYZ thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, is this also like sometimes we focus on so much what the church does not tolerate versus what the church can actually give.
Right.
And when I talk about the church, in my mind, I'm also thinking about Christ himself, because the entire conversation here is to also inspire people to develop that relationship
Right.
with Christ.
Right.
Because without Christ, there's no church.
Right.
So as we live your life as witnesses to Christ, and I think I was having this conversation on Saturday with a group of people about the relationship between people questioning the Catholic faith and forgetting there's an element of Christ. People don't question Christ; they question the element of Catholic faith. Have you ever found such a thing happening to you, or in your ministries, or in your life? Becca?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like,
Definitely. Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
like where you find people are like fighting the element of the Catholic faith, but not necessarily understanding that the Catholic faith is about Christ himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I think that has been a struggle. I have encountered a couple of people who have that kind of struggle.
Well, I think the biggest thing is just from a sheer desire to have your lifestyle accepted and the truth you make accepted. We are very good as human beings to ascribing our behavior to something that Jesus would be okay with. Like the church may be against us, but Jesus, see, and
He hung out with the sinners.
Yes, right. So he would definitely be okay with me partying all Saturday night. So I think the biggest challenge is that we as human beings, and we all do this, we ascribe our behavior to something that Jesus would find acceptable.
Yeah.
Because he's all forgiving, all merciful, which he is.
Yeah.
But we also forget about the just part. That there's justice and there's truth, and
There's
so I think that's one of the bigger questions is
Yeah.
why do we do that? How do we stop doing that so much?
Yeah, it's interesting. So, once again, you're watching, you're listening and watching Village Catholic Conversations. And today we are having a conversation with young adults and just asking different questions and dialoguing about them in regards to the Catholic faith, how they live their faith, to inspire you and to inspire others to start their own conversations. So, in the meantime, we're going to take a real quick break, and when we come back, we'll have more Village Catholic Conversations.